Enterprise Institute economist Mark Perry last year measured the gun homicide rate against the number of guns per person from 1993 to 2013. Now, it seems to me some facts are relevant here, not just the pizza sit-in, the little party they had on the floor of the House. Let's take a look at this. As the number of guns per person rose, 1993 to 2013, by 0.94 to 1.45, the gun homicide rate, listen to this, fell by 49%, from 7 to 3.6 per 100,000 people. Let me repeat that. Well, let me just sum it up. More guns in the hands of law-abiding Americans meant less homicides. Also using federal government data, the Pew Research Center reported last year that non-fatal gun victimizations had fallen from 725.3 to 174.8 per 100,000 from 1993 to 2014. So all gun-related crime is falling, not just gun homicides. Now, what's not falling, of course, is Islamo-Nazi-related murders. But we're not allowed to say that, so I just did. The United States seems to be recovering a large chunk of the civility obliterated in the tumult of the 60s and 70s, he writes. The gentleman being Andrew Klein over at The Federalist, suggesting that human-on-human violence is predominantly a product of culture, not technology. The U.S. homicide rate more than doubled from 1963 to 73 and remained high for the next 20 years. 1973, the rate was 9.4 per 100,000 people. 1993, it was 9.5. Although we need more time before we can know for sure, this spike in homicides appears to have been an historical aberration. Of course, we had the riotous 1960s and the do-your-own-thing. Since 1993, the homicide rate has collapsed, and it now hovers around early 1960 levels. In 2014, the homicide rate was 4.5 people per 100,000, less than half the rate in 1995. The last time it was that low was 1963, when the rate was 4.6. The median age in the United States is 37, so for the average American alive today, the odds of being murdered have never been lower, even though Americans possess millions more firearms than they did 2 decades ago when homicide rates were higher. You got that? So when people go on Fox like Geraldo or Rivera and say, yeah, I got 400, what do we need 400 guns for? What do we need? It's not the Bill of Needs, it's the Bill of Rights. And it's not a question of needs. I have 5 weapons. You think I'm going to run out and shoot 5 weapons at one time? Start a riot or something? Saw another one last month I might acquire, by the way. What about so-called assault weapons? The FBI divides firearms into handguns and rifles, with the rifles category covering anything from the little .22 caliber rifles kids shoot at summer camps to the so-called dreaded AR-15, which is nothing but a rifle, and not a very powerful one, I might add. In last year's Uniform Crime Report, the FBI listed the number of homicides committed with rifles since 2010. A few thousand homicides each year are committed with firearms of undetermined type, most likely handguns. The numbers are this, that is, homicides with rifles. Ready? Homicides with rifles since 2010. 367 in 2010. 332 in 2011. 298 in 2012. 285 in 2013. And 248 in 2014. 2014 was lower than 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 248. It's too many, but it's a nation of 315 million people with hundreds of millions of firearms. This decline in confirmed homicides by rifle coincided with a massive increase in the number of so-called assault rifles Americans own. We say so-called because there's no such thing as an assault rifle. There's no such thing. From 2010 to 2014, sales of semi-automatic rifles, that would be a pull the trigger and it shoots a bullet and it automatically reloads. A bullet goes in the chamber. That's what a semi-automatic means. From 2010 to 2014, sales of semi-automatic rifles like the AR-15 rose 28% per year. The Los Angeles Times reported on June 13. So while the number of rifles in circulation was increasing dramatically, the number of FBI confirmed murders committed when using a rifle fell by almost one-third. During the same time, the number of homicides committed with handguns fell by 9%. The data produced one inescapable conclusion, writes Andrew Klein. What is it? The entire premise for a new so-called assault weapons ban, that the proliferation of assault weapons has led to unprecedented carnage, is completely untrue. Yes, the United States is a particularly violent Western country, he writes, but blaming this on America's love of guns is simplistic and wrong. The homicide rate in the United States does not track neatly with the gun ownership rate. Now, I might add that since Obama has been trashing cops, the homicide rates in our cities have been going up. But there's no connection to the huge increase in the purchase of guns, pistols, and rifles, including the AR-15, as the homicide rate overall goes down. Did you know this? All the reporting on the pizza sit-in, the pizza party that they were having there at the House of Representatives, did a single cable news outlet report any of this to you? How about a single network news outlet? Did they report it to you? No, none of them reported this, because it goes against the narrative. Hey, how about the Today Show? No. How about Good Morning America? No. How about The View, which I've never watched in my life, I don't think? No. No, none of them mentioned it at all. How about the goofballs in Hollywood signing all kinds of letters about gun control? Do they? No, they don't know about that either. It doesn't matter to any of them, ladies and gentlemen. They're on an ideological, obsessed mission to strip the Constitution of the Bill of Rights. Your Bill of Rights.